Good afternoon, Year 6. I'm back again with our second lesson of the week. As always, to start off with, we've got a quick warm-up activity. Last lesson was fractions of amounts, and this lesson's related to it because we're finding out percentage of quantities. I'm just going to do a quick reminder because it's a few weeks since we had a go at doing this. So if we're finding 10%, 10% is equal to 10 over 100, which in turn is equal to 1/10. So if we're finding 10%, all we have to do is divide by 10. So for example, for the question here, 10% of 50, we can simply do 50 divided by 10, which gives us 5. So 10% of 50 equals 5. We also know that 1/10 of 50 equals 5 because 10% and 1/10 are the same. When we come though to find out something different, so a multiple of 10, 30%, for example, of 60, which is the question that is here, 30% is equal to 30 over 100, which in turn is equal or equivalent to 3/10. So we still find 10% or 1/10, and we do 60 divided by 10, which equals 6. But we don't want to find 10%, we want to find 30%, and 30% is 3 times as big as 10%. So we have to multiply 6 by 3 to get the answer of 18. So 30% of 60 equals 18. Have a go at the questions. They might take 5-10 minutes to do, and then I'll come back in 5 or so minutes and we can go through the answers. Okay, let's have a look at the answers. One of the things I miss about teaching is having the interaction with the children, the question and answer, the assessment for learning, and knowing where to take the lesson. But one of the biggest things as well is if I make a mistake, I always know that there's Freddie or Toby or Olivia to point it out in a quite tactful way. I might have made some mistakes on here. I'm hoping not, but I do know last week there was one error in the multiplying and dividing by 10, 100 and 1,000. So thank you, Freddie, for pointing that out. If I have made any mistakes, do let me know, but do it in a tactful manner. They're not deliberate. Right, let's move on to today's lesson. It's our second lesson on the mean. As always, we're going to start with the in focus task. So for today's in focus task, we have got a chart of the number of goals scored in a football tournament. So we've got different groups in the football tournament. I'm just going to scroll in and zoom in. In fact, I'll go to the full screen so that we can see it a little bit more clearly. So we've got Group A here, we've got Group B, C, all the way up to H. And they've got all of the teams that are taking part. I can see that England scored very poorly and they've only got 2 goals here in comparison to the Netherlands, who have scored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So England didn't do so well in this tournament. Better than Wales though, who appear not to have qualified. So anyway, back to the maths. What you've got to do is to work out the average number of goals per group. So remember, you're dividing the number of goals by the number of teams in each group. Now, when we go through this, I'm going to focus on the following teams. I'm going to focus on Group B and Group C. So if you want to start with those, that would be a good place to start. However, you can just work out the average for all groups. I'll go back into the Zoom and then press pause, have a go at finding the mean for all of them, and I'll come back in a few minutes when you've had a go at doing that. Right, let's start with Group D. So we've got Costa Rica, Uruguay, Italy and England. And here you can see that in the total number of goals that they've scored, it equals 12. And to find out the average, we'll then need to divide that 12 by the number of teams there are. That then is going to give us 3 goals. This is a recap from yesterday, and the 2 characters here just remind us about what we did yesterday by saying we say the average number of goals scored by each team in Group D is 3. This average is called the mean. Did each team really score 3 goals? No, but it's an average for all teams. Now we can work on to, or move on to Group C. And the total number of goals scored by the teams was 17. Fantastic, 9 goals scored by Colombia. Not so good from Japan and Greece, and the Ivory Coast did okay. So in order to work this out, we've got to do 17 divided by 4. It's not going to be a whole number because 17 isn't a multiple of 4. So I'm just going to quickly pop it into the bus stop method of short division, just so that we can see and remind ourselves how to work it out. So we've got 17 in here, and I know that because it's not going to be a whole number, I can put a decimal point in here and a couple of zeros to start us off when we have the remainders. So I'll put 4 alongside here, and then we can make a start. So 4 into 1 we can't do. We then have a go at 4 into 17. Numbers of 4 into 17 is 4, remainder 1. And the 1 is just going to go here. I've got to remember now to put in the decimal point above where I've placed it on the bus stop method. 4 into 10 is 2. Then I've got a remainder 2. 4 into 20 is 5. So there's 5 lots of 4 in 20. The answer there is going to be 4.25 goals per team. And that would be if each team scored the same number of goals, it averages out at 4.25 goals. The mean for Group C is 4.25 goals. We'll now move on to the guided practice. Now just be careful with this one, because although it looks the same, it's slightly different in terms of what you have to do. We've got Group F here, and it says the number of goals over 3 matches. Argentina done quite well, must have something to do with Messi playing for them. Nigeria 3, Bosnia and Herzegovina 4, and Iran 1. Now what we'd like you to do is to calculate the mean number of goals scored per match, not per team but per match. So you've got to total up the number of goals and divide it by the number of matches. I'm not going to tell you, there's a massive clue there. Have a go at that for all of these ones here. Leave this question for the minute. So let's have a look then at the number of goals scored by Argentina per the 3 matches. So we've got to take the number of goals 6 divided by the number of matches 3, which equals 2 goals per match. That's the average that Argentina scored. Nigeria had 3 goals divided by the 3 matches, gives a mean of 1 goal per match. And then we've got the one by Bosnia. Now Bosnia, we know it's not going to be a whole number, so again I've put it into the short division bus stop method here and put a number of zeros to start us off. So 3 into 4, I know that that goes once, remainder 1. So then we've got 3 into 10, but I've got to put in the decimal point in here. 3 into 10 is 3 times, so 3 lots of 3 equals 9, 1 remainder equals 10 again. So we have the same, 3 into 10 goes 3 times, and we have the remainder 1 again. And that's going to keep going forever. So what we do is we'll stop here at 2 significant figures. We'll stop at the second one if we know it's going to keep going, otherwise we'll be there forever with this calculation. So let's go back to the question. What's the average or the mean number of goals scored per match by Bosnia? They scored 1.333 goals per average. Now poor old Iran only scored 1 goal in the tournament, not great for their supporters. So we've got to work out the average for them. And again, we do exactly the same. We put the goals, or the number we want to divide by, here in the bus stop, and then divide by the number 3, which is the number of matches. So 3 into 1, we have 0. I'm going to put the decimal point in here. I'm going to carry that 1. 3 into 10, as we found out before, goes 3 times with a remainder 1. Once again, we have 3 into 10, which is 3 times with a remainder of 1. And I'm going to stop there because this is going to keep going as we had with the question before. So the average number of goals, the mean number of goals scored by Iran in the 3 matches was 0.33. For the last question on the guided practice, it says the mean number of goals scored over the 3 matches for the teams in one group was 4.5. Which group was this? So you've got to look through and find out which was the number that was 4.5. So you've got to add up the number of goals and divide by the 3 matches. One of these groups, Group A, Group B, or Group E. Have a go, press pause on your tablet, mobile phone, or laptop and have a go at the question. And the answer for this one was Group A. Right, let's move on to the independent learning. So today I'm going to do exactly the same that I did on our last lesson. I'm going to put the questions up, ask you to have a go at them by pressing pause, and then show the answer. These sheets are also on the home learning log, so you can print them out if you have a printer that works at home. So the first question, this table shows the number of cars sold by some salespeople over 4 weeks. Have a go at the question. Right, and the answer for this one is 1.6875. Now it says calculate the mean number of cars sold by all the salespeople per week. Press pause and have a go. And the answer to this one is 6.75. Let's move on to the next page. So we've got question 2 here. Emma's scores for 5 different quizzes are shown below. And if we zoom in, we're going to see those a little bit more clearly. So you can see the scores on the top here, and it would like us to work out what is Emma's mean score. Have a go at it. Right, and let's reveal the answer. Her mean score was 8.2. And last of all today, it says some pupils took 3 different quizzes and the score sheet below shows their scores. So you've got to work out totals here. 2 pupils have the same mean score. Which 2 pupils are these and what is their mean score? Have a go and see if you can work out their mean score and which 2 pupils scored the same. Here's their answer for the mean score. And then you can see here that both Hannah and Ravi have a mean score of 7. That's it for today. Tomorrow's lesson is Times Table Rockstars and the Times Table Challenge sheet, which is on the Home School log. I'll see you again on Friday with the final lesson. Goodbye.